Oh, we're live, and I'm falling over. Just a second. Ow, 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 ow. Okay. And then I gotta get this. Oh, I gotta get that. Oh, and this, and this, and this, and this. Oh, ow. Welcome, everybody. This is Polygon Issuance 116. I'm doing this a month after the last show because it's been very busy. Jeff is here. Jeff is the only one here tonight because I wanted to do a show to update people about what was going on, because a few weeks ago I went to Seattle for a family gathering thing. And then I was going to do a show about that last week, and then traumatic thing happened, which I'll discuss now. I accidentally fatally injured and killed a baby rabbit. So with a lawnmower. So that was not fun. So that happened a week ago. So didn't want to do a show then, but now I'm going to do a show now. And I'm doing this in my bedroom because right now my living room is excruciatingly hot because the sun is blaring straight in. I typically do these around 7 o'clock. I'm doing it at about 6:35, 6:40. And it's about 78 in my living room right now, and it's boiling hot. In my bedroom right now, the temperature is 71 or 2, I think, because the sun is not blaring into my bedroom at this point. But so I wanted to discuss my trip to Seattle and the weather that occurred, and the bad thing about the weather in Seattle, that it's as bad as it is here. It rained most of the time we were there, and then they said it was going to rain, and then it didn't. And then the one time when my mother and I were in downtown Seattle, we would walk from the Elliott Bay Book Company, which is in the Capitol Hill district in Seattle, back downtown. Bad decision. It was a long walk, probably close to a mile, and my mother did not like that. My feet did not like that. I ended up with a blister on my one toe, which I think is still there. And I was wearing new shoes, which is not a good thing either. But this was the interesting thing. We went there. Sky was sunny. There was some partly cloudy, I'd say. This was on, the Wednesday we were there. So this would have been Wednesday, the last Wednesday in April. So we went downtown. We ate at Cheesecake Factory. I'll get into that too. And we got out of Cheesecake Factory and we walked the 1 block down to the Barnes & Noble that's downtown Seattle. Still sunny. We walked in, we were in there. We came out of the Barnes & Noble, pouring down rain in downtown. And then there's a little incident that occurred before we went into the subway, but I'm not going to discuss that. Let's just say I was, I think, scammed. But anyway, out of $10. Yay. Anywho. But then we got back on the light rail, because we took light rail in Seattle, which was better than trying to drive in Seattle, because, oh my God, I'll tell you a story about what happened the following day later on. But we took the light rail, of course, which is underground downtown. And then we came out it because our hotel was on the end of the light rail system south of SeaTac Airport. For anybody that has been in Seattle, it would be Angle Lake. And our hotel was a block, about 2.5 block walk from the station there. So we ended up leaving and going back to our hotel, and then the sky was sunny. I think we got about halfway back to the hotel, and the sky turned sunny. It was a wonderful day again. And I'm like, really? And I had looked at the radar because I had taken my laptop with me. It was only raining downtown and north of there. South of downtown, nothing. And the interesting thing was, I'm laying on my bed because I'm more comfortable this way. Let me move my computer up closer. We ended up going to another cheesecake factory the same day to have dessert. So that's the first time I'd ever been to 2 cheesecake factories in one day. And the first time I'd ever been to a cheesecake factory was when I went to the NWA meeting in Oklahoma City, when I went there with Henry. Those that remember, Henry used to be on this show a couple of years ago. And that was an interesting experience. But anyway, the next day, the Thursday, which was our last day there, we ended up going to the bookstore, the half-price bookstore. This was a bad decision because I ended up buying a bunch of books, all these books that you can hear. I ended up buying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. And I'll show some of them, and they'll still have some of them because I'll turn my camera on so you can see my wonderful face. Look at me, woo, in my kitchen, and I'm in. But I bought this book. That's from the half-price bookstore, as you can see. This is about the tornado that was in Waco. Why this book was in Seattle, I don't know. The other books were similar. I bought Northwest Mountain Weather, and I don't know why it got so dark. Northwest Mountain Weather. Ooh. And then, if you thought that was great, this is how weather crazy I am. I bought this. Marine Weather of Western Washington. I bought this because this looked interesting. I was like, look, ooh, this was interesting. This tells me I am crazy and I need to be put away if I'm buying a book about marine weather in Western Washington. Yep, this is what I bought, and I'll show this. Because this is a book that was written by a commander at NOAA. This man, Kenneth Lilly, right there, and it's very technical. This was written in the 1980s, and I'm thinking, ooh. But then if you thought the one book was weird, I ended up finding this in the half-price bookstore. The book on Hurricane Sandy that was done by the Asbury Park Press of Superstorm Sandy, which was not a superstorm. I'll tell you, it was not a superstorm. It was a hurricane that had become a thing. But then this is the book that I was more interested in. This was a book that I actually thought about buying online, but I found it in the half-price bookstore, and that was the Weather of the Pacific Northwest. This is by Cliff Mass, who's at the University of Washington. And I almost thought about getting him on the show and actually going to the University of Washington because I was not that far from the University of Washington. But then the 2 books that I bought of the place I did not get to go to is Mount St. Helens. I did not go here. And I was very upset that I did not go here. I have already read this book. Now, this book just came out not that long ago. This one I think I bought at Barnes & Noble. Yes, because I didn't think I was able. And why is my screen getting all strange? Well, I'm turning it off. But anyway, so I ended up buying all those books. Let's just say we were lucky our luggage was not overweight, or I would have been pissed. Because we were very close to thinking about taking all these books to FedEx so we could ship them. But that was on that Thursday morning. Then that Thursday afternoon, we drove over to our family thing because we have family through my mother. It's a long story. It's not a weather-related story. It's more of a ancestry-related story. But we went and saw family there. This would be north of Bremerton, which we took the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, and I took pictures of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. It didn't gallop and whatnot. There was strong crosswinds that Thursday that we crossed because we went there also on Monday of the time we were there. But we crossed the bridge on Thursday. It was really somewhat breezy, so I was thinking I was going to crash or fly off or something because we had a decent car. I won't get into the car issue because I got scammed out of that too. But anyway, so we got there, blah, 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 whatever. But Thursday, it started raining while we were up there. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and rained, and rained. It was cold. It was like, ugh. And there was all these flowers. Everything had been bloomed out already, which is interesting for the fact that that area has had so much rain. They've had the wettest period from October to April. And we were there for it, yay. But we were driving back down. Unfortunately, we stayed too long, and it was nearing dark. Worst thing to do to a person that does not know where he's going. I hate driving at night. What's the worst thing that could happen when you're driving at night? You're driving at night in a rainstorm in an area you're not familiar with, especially when you get back into Tacoma, which is where the road merges back into I-5. And you end up going off the wrong exit, trying to get back on the interstate, get lost, almost get into a car accident. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting angry. And the roads are narrow as heck. I don't know how people don't crash more often there because every lane looks tiny compared to our lanes here, which are like wide. You could put 3 Volkswagens in one lane and they would still have room. But here you'd be able to fit a bicycle and you'd probably still hit somebody. Anyway, so that was not a fun experience driving there, especially at night in a rainstorm. The thing that that was interesting, on Tuesday of that time, we went up to the Space Needle. We went up I wanted to take a picture of Mount Rainier. It was clouded over. You couldn't see it. It was partly sunny, but Mount Rainier was covered. You couldn't see any of the mountains. So that was frustrating. And if I wanted to get really pissy, so I'm in a mood today, especially because I'm very warm and very angry and cranky. When I get warm and sweaty, I get cranky. I ended up going to the Science Center. That's it's in the same area as the Space Needle. No weather stuff there at all. None. I was duped into going there, not by my mother, but by the Science Center. And I was not happy. Luckily, we got a deal on everything, so we weren't totally screwed over. But that really irritated me. We were only in the Science Center maybe 40 minutes, and I was very angry. It's good for children. There was a lot of kids there, so a lot of schools were going through it at the time. But it just seemed like a big waste of my time. We went into the garden and glass place. My mother wanted to go there. I thought it was kind of The flowers were interesting. It would have probably been better to go there a few weeks later when more of the flowers were blooming. I took pictures of that, which I'm not going to show because some of them are on here and some of them are still on the camera. But the entire experience in Seattle was it was cold. It rained a lot. And my mother forgot the gift cards for the restaurants that we were going to go eat at. Which I should have taken a picture of when she had forgotten her gift cards, because she was like, I was like, oh, I should have taken a picture. But that was funny. But the weather was fine outside the rain. Oops. My camera wants to go to sleep. But it was just cold. And the funny thing was, the week after we left to come back here, the weather there, they ended up having severe weather in the Northwest. Really? I was like, and it was nice and sunny. And I'm like, really? But the interesting thing about it was when we went the time we did because the hotel rates went up on May 1st. Our hotel rate was going to go up $60 a day more after May 1st. And we left on April 28th. So when we left to come back here. Well, we actually went back to Minneapolis, but so that trip was fine. The only time I got to see Mount Rainier was as we were flying out of Seattle, going back to Minneapolis. And I'm like, really? Really? I took some pictures of that. They're still on my camera. I took some pictures from overhead. I took a picture of something. I took a picture of some mountains. I couldn't tell you which ones they were. I'd have to go and look them up. I tried to take pictures of I took a picture when we crossed the Missouri River over North Dakota. As we flew over North Dakota, I saw Fargo from the air, which was like really interesting. But so we did that, and the flight out there wasn't too bad. Was the longest flight I'd ever been on. It was over 3 hours. So it was really, really cramped, trying to stay in a cramped space for 3 hours without your legs either falling asleep or getting a Charlie horse or whatever. But in the time since the last show, it was a month ago today, April 12th was when I did the last show. That was the one with Tony. That we've had only one. Count them. No, wait a minute. Did we have? No. We had the tornado just outside of Anamosa, which was outside of town here in Anamosa. That happened a couple of days. That happened the weekend after the last show. We had a tornado outside of town. It was on a bow echo. But then after that, we didn't have another tornado in the state of Iowa until this past Wednesday, 2 days ago, in southeast Iowa, which was an EF0. It was on the ground for 2 miles. There's lots of pictures on it of it. Looked to be a decent, what I would say, a cone tornado. Didn't last very long, 5-6 minutes, and then it went back up into the air. But there was a lot of pictures of it. There was a ton of storm chasers on it. But otherwise, the weather's been kind of blah. There's been a lot of rain. All my flowers have bloomed. My grass, I've mowed it several times. I actually mowed it today. Mine, I refuse to mow my mother's now because of the rabbit incident. But other than that, not a lot has happened weather-wise. There's been more active weather again in the south. Again, there was, I think I saw today, there was a tornado in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And people getting too close. And then I saw that there was another storm chaser incident with a car accident. Nobody was killed, thank goodness. But a lot of storm chasers are starting to really get a little bit uppity about stuff. I notice on my Facebook feed, there's a lot of people that are starting to get very upset that storm chasing is getting really, as I'll call it, in my opinion, quote, stupid. Not for people that are doing it to go, ooh, here's a tornado, let's call it in. It's more of the, I want money, give me money, 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 money. And I'll do anything I can to get the tornado. It goes back to what I talked about with Tony in the last episode, and it doesn't look like anybody. It's almost like the deaths that have occurred are in vain because nobody is learning their lesson. And unfortunately, that when you learn your lesson, it's going to be you're either dead or in a hospital, and you won't be chasing anymore. So I'm starting to. It's really starting to make me want to not do it. And luckily for me, because myself and Matt are no longer talking to each other, although that's more or less my thing because I'm not happy with him. That I feel more safe not going anywhere for fear that I don't want to get into somebody else's problem. Because I more or less have to watch out for myself and watch out for other people. Because if they're not going to watch out for me or anybody else, then who is? I mean, I don't want to be going down a road, and then here comes a car that blindsides me, and they were supposed to stop. Which in this case, the accident that occurred in Texas, this latest one, which is also in Texas, also involves somebody running a stop sign again. So, anyway, we won't go any further than that on that issue. But for the show, I am going to try to start doing these shows again. I've kind of been trying to coerce myself into trying to get some people back on it again. But right now, it's getting to be difficult because now we're going into the summer, and it's a lot harder to get anybody to be on in the summer. So there may only be a few shows during the entire summer season. We'll see if that comes to pass, but unless something big happens, I don't foresee anything occurring right away. But as of right now, I'm going to try to keep this short because I am not happy staying in this bedroom because I'm going to have to get up. This is starting to really, I'm starting to really get sweaty even in my bedroom now. Excuse me. And now I'm back in my living room, so it's now really warm. But anyway, I just wanted to update everybody. Oh dear. On what's going on and whatnot. So we'll see if we have any more shows. I know with this being a show when it's just myself talking, it's just me rambling on and whatnot. So anyway, that's where we stand, where the show stands right now. I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing another show at this point, because it's all up to when I can get guests and if I have the time. I know next week for me is going to be very busy because I'm going to the dentist again to have work done on my teeth, and that usually means I'm going to be in agony for 2 weeks probably. Especially if it's like the last time I had my teeth done, I was in agony for a week and a half. And the last thing I want to do is have somebody on and I'm in agony. So it might be the beginning of June before I do another show. It's all up to where I can and how I can get stuff done. So anyway, that's where it stands right now. I know the show is not very long, but it's getting to that time of the year where, gosh, the sun is bright today. That it's getting hard for me to be able to do shows by myself or find people to be on with me. So that's where we stand, as I said. So if you can, there's nothing else. Ooh, that's interesting. So anyway, I will see you on the next show, whenever that is. I will mention it on Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. So I'll see you at that time. So goodbye.